My first audition wasn't meeting him, so I had watched all of his films and then I went in for the casting director. So there was no scenes to audition with. I was told they would like me to sing a lullaby and put a baby to sleep, and then also to look at someone with love and respect. I remember she brought out a poster board with Ethan Hawke on it. Terry has no idea, I think, about this. And so I looked at Ethan Hawke with love and respect, like communicating that way. And I was very prepared to do all of those things. I guess just feeling the spirit of what he had created before. It also came to me at just the right time in my life. I was going through some kind of emotional, spiritual awakening, I think, before I even auditioned for the part. And I guess in some way, it just felt like it was meant to be. I had heard that Terry responded to my tape, and I flew myself to Texas, and I got myself a hotel, and I met with Terry for lunch. And I was kind of hoping, and I had been told that, meeting Terry, that perhaps the way Terry works is he's so spontaneous that sometimes, you could be in the middle of lunch or whatever, and all of a sudden there's a camera, and he's like, let's film with the bird, or let's go do this. And I said, well, would you like to do it now? We went back to his office, and I met with Nick and AJ, and he had given me some pages, and I kind of looked over the pages really quick, and we filmed some inside of me walking around and saying some of the dialogue, and then we went outside, and I was walking through the trees, and AJ's filming me, and poor Nick. I think Nick was playing all the other parts, so Nick might have been playing the children, and AJ was filming, and it was definitely something of the boys chasing me around the table. I think with Terry, it was important to hear my voice, to see my movement. Back up! And it was such an incredible experience for me. And when I left, I really didn't imagine that it would continue. I don't know, but also I didn't feel like it had to continue. Like I felt like this was such an incredible experience. And even if it ends now, I am so grateful. After I was cast, Terry asked me if I would like to come in and meet some of the boys that they were auditioning. I know that they had done a huge search to find these 3 beautiful boys. Ty Sheridan, loved him from the beginning. So cute, so sweet. And Laramie had this sense to him. It was like a throwback to actually a movie star from the 1950s. There was this gentleness to him, and he was very quiet and very shy. And Hunter, he was a rebel for sure. And I don't know, there was just something, as soon as I met Hunter, I just felt like, oh, this kid has so much to give. Because the fear was, is he gonna be too rebellious or antagonistic as the character? Like, he's the hero. So the audience has to find their way into the journey. Is Hunter gonna allow that to happen? I remember it was probably the second time I met him, and I knew it was his last audition.
How was school? Usual.
I didn't believe the front that Hunter had, this angry kid. And we were sitting in the house, and I put my arm around him, and I just started like stroking his hair. And immediately, the sense of being a tough guy, it just melted. It was like the little boy, that sensitive, sweet little boy was finally seen. And I think he got the part after that. I really did keep the energy while we were shooting, because especially with the boys, I think it would have been really confusing for them. We spent more time together than when we shot this movie than we did with our own families. And to be one way and be really close with them when we were shooting a scene, and then kind of be removed when we weren't, I just felt wasn't fair. And for children, they don't understand acting. It's their real life. I love those boys. So my main focus, even when I wasn't shooting, was to just take care of them. At the time, I didn't know this because I hadn't been on very many film sets, but I think the crew was a very small crew. But to me, it felt ginormous because it was one of my first things. But it really, I felt like a lot of the scenes, it would be Terry, myself, Chivo, Jorgen, and then if there was someone else in the scene with me, but sometimes it would just be me chasing a butterfly. The butterfly scene was not in the script. They say, well, with a Terrence Malick film, you never really know what it's gonna be. But I knew Mrs. O'Brien was gonna be in the film. You can't have a movie about nature and grace without the grace. But casting directors didn't know that. And other directors didn't know that. So it was still really difficult for me when I finished shooting to get auditions. However, Terry helped me a lot. I think the next film I shot after this was The Debt with John Madden, and I know that Terry and John had a long conversation about me, and he was such an advocate for me, which really changed my life. So I just started making movies. There was a lot of wait while the editing was happening, and there was a lot of voiceover while the editing was happening. I'd be traveling anywhere around the world, Budapest, or be home in Santa Rosa with my family, and I'd get a call from Terry asking me if I would do some voiceover sessions. I probably did over 30 voiceover sessions where he would FedEx me. Sometimes I'd be in LA with him, but most of the time I'd be in another country or somewhere, and he'd FedEx me like 30 pages of dialogue, and I would go somewhere, some kind of sound studio. You know, I remember in Santa Rosa, it was like a guitar center, and they had a little soundproof booth, and I kind of went in there, and I would just whisper these lines.